Yes, hello and welcome everyone to the T26 channel, where we are going to break down the 26-man roster for the US men's national team going into each upcoming FIFA window. And man, did we pick a great time to start doing this, with two high-profile friendlies coming here in June, followed shortly by the Copa America that's being held right here in the US in the summer of 2024. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into it and start breaking down this roster. The first thing that you are going to notice is that there's 27 names on this list and not 26. And that's because our head coach, Greg Berhalter, actually called in 27 men to the June friendly camp. So we are going to see one of these players be removed from the list when it comes time to release the official roster for the Copa America. To break down this roster, we're going to start at the back and start with our goalkeepers. We're bringing three to this tournament, and those three are Matt Turner, Ethan Horvath, and Sean Johnson. Our starting goalkeeper, Matt Turner, is coming off of a rough year at Nottingham Forest. It's his first year at Forest. He left Arsenal last summer to hopefully claim a starting job with Nottingham Forest in the Premier League, and unfortunately, he did the exact opposite. After an up and down start to the season, he ended up getting benched, and Forest actually made an emergency transfer move in the January transfer window to bring in another goalkeeper to ensure that Matt Turner was not going to be taking the field for the back half of the season. In the past, Turner's proved that he doesn't necessarily need to be playing week in and week out to perform for the national team and to continuously be a good shot stopper for the US. Hopefully none of that changes going into Copa America, and he can find good form and be good with his feet so that we can try and build out of the back against some of our opponents. Our backup goaltender, Ethan Horvath, is actually coming off of a bit of a middling year himself. He started the season as the third choice goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest and did not play a single minute until after the January transfer window, where he made a move to Cardiff City. After his move to Cardiff City, Ethan Horvath played pretty much to expectation and was a solid choice for Cardiff City in the EFL Championship. The third string goalkeeper for this tournament is going to be Sean Johnson. Just like Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath, Sean Johnson is a veteran of the 2022 World Cup. After overcoming a hamstring injury early in the MLS season, Sean Johnson has played 12 straight games for his club, and he is looking to bring a little bit of leadership and good vibes to the roster. However, we don't expect him to be seeing the field very much, if at all, in this tournament. The next player group that we're going to cover is our defenders, and we're going to start with our center backs. In this camp, we've brought 5 center backs, being Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Miles Robinson, and Cameron Carter-Vickers. Chris Richards enjoyed a breakout season with Crystal Palace this year, playing roughly 2,500 minutes, getting 1 goal and 1 assist in 31 appearances. We expect Chris Richards to be one of our starting center backs alongside Tim Ream as his primary pairing. Tim Ream had a bit of an up and down season for Fulham this year. As he is an aging center back, they have begun to phase him out as well. He got the bulk of his 1,500 minutes in the first half of the Premier League season and was a scarcely used sub beyond the January transfer window. I would expect to see Tim Ream and Chris Richards be our primary center back pairing through this June camp, as well as throughout the Copa America. Beyond that, I believe that we're going to start phasing Tim Ream out. We may continue to include him in camps for leadership and depth. However, I don't see him being one of our primary center backs moving into 2026. Our next call up at the center back position is Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's coming off of another successful year with Celtic, where they won the league and the Scottish Cup. CCV bagged 1 goal and 1 assist across roughly 2,500 minutes playing for Celtic this season. While he has enjoyed a lot of success and development over the last 2 seasons, I do believe it's time for him to move on and test himself in a new league. The 4th center back brought in this roster is Mark McKenzie. McKenzie enjoyed a consistent year with Genk and was one of their starting center backs all season long in Belgium. He had 1 goal and 3 assists across almost 4,000 minutes in the Belgian league. In the past, Greg hasn't rated McKenzie very highly, so I'll be curious to see exactly how he's used in this camp and in Copa America. And last but not least, we have Miles Robinson. So far this season, Miles has 1 goal across 1,500 minutes for Cincinnati in the MLS. It's no surprise to see Miles get called in here, as he's been one of Greg's favorites for quite some time. With us bringing in 5 center backs, there's been talk of us trying out a 3-5-2 with 3 center backs playing at the back. These June friendlies are a good opportunity to test that. However, I can't see Greg deviating from his beloved 4-3-3. Next, we're going to move on to our fullbacks. Anthony Robinson, Christopher Lund, Joe Scally, and Shaq Moore. A-Rob had another great season for Fulham, where he played roughly 3,300 minutes and got himself 6 assists. He's continued to prove that he can be a very strong and consistent left back. While his crossing has been suspect at times, he did find a lot of success playing low balls in instead of aerial crosses this season. I think that's where most of his assists came from, and his distribution seemed far more dangerous when he was playing balls in on the ground instead of in the air. Let's hope that he can continue this form throughout the summer. Our backup left back is Christopher Lund, who plays for Palermo in Serie B. This season was his first in Serie B. He played roughly 2,500 minutes, getting 2 goals and 3 assists for Palermo, who ended up finishing 6th in Serie B. In the absence of Serginho Dest, our first right back listed on the team sheet is Joe Scally. Joe Scally had another season with Borussia Mönchengladbach where he logged over 2,500 minutes. While inconsistent at times, the 21-year-old was able to score 1 goal and had 4 assists on the season. While he hasn't looked great in his previous performances for the U.S. men's national team, we're hoping that he can build on those and bring some stability to our back line. The final fullback listed on the team sheet is Shaq Moore of Nashville SC. So far this season, the 2022 World Cup vet has 3 assists and roughly 1,000 minutes played for Nashville. This is a name that many of us were not expecting to see on the team sheet. Shaq Moore was one of the worst players for us in the World Cup, and to be honest, I think that we can do better at this right back position. I would not expect him to see the field, as we do have plenty of players who can fill that position at a higher level behind Joe Scally, such as Tim Weah, Tyler Adams, and Weston McKennie. The next section of the team that we're going to cover is our midfield. Our midfield is by far our deepest and strongest quality in this team. The members of our midfield for this camp include Tyler Adams, Johnny Cardoso, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, Luca De La Torre, Malik Tillman, and Timmy Tillman. While some of our midfielders didn't have the season that they had hoped for, their performances have still always come through with the national team despite their certain club form or situation. Tyler Adams and Gio Reyna are prime examples of that this year, with Tyler missing a majority of the club season due to injury, and Gio just not being able to find form, whether it was with Dortmund or Nottingham Forest on his loan. We are definitely going to be relying on our midfield to help us control the tempo of the game and really dominate the middle of the park to help bridge the gap between some of those teams that maybe have a little bit more depth and technical ability than we do. First up on our list is Tyler Adams. And this was pretty much a lost season for Tyler, as he only played 118 minutes over 3 matches with Bournemouth this year. He was injured for a majority of the season, made a short comeback, played really well in the Nations League for the US, but then suffered some back spasms and was out for pretty much the remainder of the year despite a short cameo appearance for Bournemouth. We are going to be counting on a healthy Tyler Adams to hold down the 6th position for us and really give us some stability in the midfield. Next up is another staple of our midfield, being Weston McKennie. And Weston is coming off of a big comeback here. He locked down a starting job at Juventus and actually ended up bagging 10 assists for them, really rounding into the best form of his career in the second half of this season. We're all happy to see Weston back at his best and coming into camp in great form, ready to make an impact. Next up is another staple in our midfield, Yunus Musa. This season was a bit of a learning curve for Yunus, as he played his first season in Serie A with AC Milan. And over 40 appearances, he played just around 2,200 minutes. And again, he took a little bit of time to get acclimated to AC Milan, the tactics of Serie A, and he performed about where we had expected him to, right? Some highs and some lows for a very young player with a lot of potential. We hope to see more growth continued for him, and more time spent in this midfield in the US can only help his cause. Musa is fantastic at breaking lines and driving at defenses and really pushing the ball through midfield. What's really going to take Yunus to the next level is his decision making in the final third. As mentioned, Gio Reyna was another curious case this year where we expected a big season from him, as we've continuously seen his talent with the US, but unfortunately, he just couldn't quite make it happen with Borussia Dortmund or Nottingham Forest this year. After a down first half of the season, with very few minutes played, Gio Reyna sought a loan move and ended up at Nottingham Forest. Unfortunately, that didn't go the way he had planned. Sitting behind the top player and captain of Nottingham Forest, Gio did not get many more minutes. Over the entire season, he played roughly 590 minutes and got 2 assists. On the plus side, we are happy to report that he made it through the full club season as well as all the international breaks healthy. That's a big positive and a big stepping stone for Gio going into his future. Another great addition to our midfield is Luca De La Torre, who's played his last couple of club seasons with Celta de Vigo in La Liga. Luca had a great start to the season, and honestly his first 3 quarters of the year were really strong before an injury sidelined him and he was kind of getting substitute minutes for the last quarter of the year. Even though he did see his minutes fall off a bit at the end, Luca proved that he was more goal dangerous now than in the past, having 3 goals and 6 assists across 2,200 minutes in all competitions. Personally, I'm really excited and kind of curious to see where Luca's going to fit into this midfield. He does have the ability to play the 6, the 8, and the 10, as well as be versatile and go out on the wing. So we could see quite a few different looks from Luca De La Torre in the Copa America. Next up, we have Johnny Cardoso, who's probably the splash of the club season for our midfield. He had a great start to the year with Internacional in Brazil, and in the January transfer window, he made his way to Real Betis in La Liga. Once Johnny made the move to La Liga, he started 15 of the 19 matches that he was available for. So he essentially locked down a starting role mid-season with a brand new club. During his time in La Liga, Johnny was very effective in the CDM role. He was very strong right in front of that back line, and he was even able to score once and assist twice in his 19 matches. I would expect very big things from Johnny in this international window, as well as going into next club season. Another midfielder who made a big step forward this season was Malik Tillman. Malik Tillman was loaned from Bayern Munich to PSV this year, where he scored 9 goals and got 11 assists. At the end of the season, Malik's performances warranted PSV triggering a buy clause, so he is no longer going to be on loan at Bayern Munich, and he's going to be a full-time PSV player. The next step in his development is to continually have good form and really show up against the stronger opponents in the Eredivisie as well as at the international stage. We really hope that he can continue this good form and serve as a quality second option to Gio Reyna at the number 10. Between the two of them, we have the potential to have a more creative midfield than we ever have in the past. Last but not least in this midfield, we have Malik's brother, Tim Tillman. Tim plays with LAFC in the MLS, and he has 5 goals and 4 assists so far this season in roughly 1,500 minutes. As mentioned, we do have an extra man on this roster, and Tim Tillman seems to be the odd man out given the depth of our midfield. Can he squeeze his way in here with some good performances and make an appearance in the Copa America? I'm not sure, but if he can perform at that high level, all for it. If you're good enough, you belong on the field. The final position that we're going to be evaluating is our forwards group, and that consists of Brendan Aronson, Fuller and Balogun, Christian Pulisic, Josh Sargent, Tim Weah, and Haji Wright. It was a long season for Brendan Aronson during his loan spell from Leeds United in the EFL Championship to Union Berlin in the Bundesliga. Early on in the season, it seemed that Brendan was once again struggling with the physicality of the league and was spending a lot of time on the ground. He did, however, have a very strong finish to the season, where he played a total of 38 matches across all competitions, including the Champions League, and he was able to have 2 goals and 2 assists. 3 of those 4 goals and assists came in the last 6 to 8 weeks of the season, so you can see how Brendan really picked up form and became comfortable in the Bundesliga towards the end of the year. Hopefully that form continues for our little Brendan, and we see a lot of progress this year, and he adds some real depth to our forward group. The next forward in our group is Fuller and Balogun. The high-profile player had a down year by his standards. With 20 plus goals the previous year in Ligue 1 in France, he was only able to have 7 goals and 6 assists across 1,600 minutes this season with Monaco. Now this was his first year with the club, and they did end up finishing second in the league. We will want to see his production numbers and his finishing go up as his time with the club continues. I would expect him to take over the locked-in starting number 9 position next season, as his primary competition, Ben Yedder, has left the club. Flo really needs to find his form with the US men's national team as well, as he's had a few disappointing performances. Maybe he hasn't been utilized in quite the right way. However, he hasn't been as clinical in front of goal as we would have liked, and with Josh Sargent, Haji Wright, and Ricardo Pepi nipping at his heels, he's going to have to start producing to continue to earn that starting position. I think that he has all the potential in the world to do it, but ultimately it's on him to put those performances together on the field. Next up is another one of our guys from PSV, Ricardo Pepi. Ricardo was able to get 9 goals and 3 assists in just 750 minutes played all season. While clearly effective in his time on the field, he was still sitting behind PSV's captain Luc de Jong all year long. We really hope that he can continue to be lethal in front of goal for us and ultimately earn more minutes going into next club season. Pepi, Dest, and Tillman put together one of the most dominant club seasons in Eredivisie history with PSV. The club ended up winning the league, going 24-4-1. They also made a big splash in the Champions League, battling it out and making it to the knockout stages. Next up, we have our star and Captain America himself, Christian Pulisic. In his first season at AC Milan, Pulisic was electric. Pulisic was able to grab 15 goals and 11 assists across 3,600 minutes in all competitions. Another positive for him is that he was able to stay healthy for the entire year. Tim Weah had a bit of an adjustment year this season at Juventus. He has been continuously played on the right wing for the US men's national team and has been very reliable doing so. However, this season, he was playing as a right wing back for Juve. Throughout the club season, he was mostly utilized as a substitute off the bench, and he was able to grab 1 goal and 2 assists this year, playing as a right wing back for roughly 1,400 minutes. Tim is one of the players that could come into this camp and challenge Joe Scally for that starting right back spot and give us a little bit more depth across our back line. Now, I'm not sure if Greg is going to move him back there because he does seem to really like what Tim brings to that right wing position. However, if Joe Scally is not getting it done, I would want to see Tim move to that right wing back position over anybody else on our roster. I don't think that Shaq Moore has the quality to do so. I believe that we have the depth at the wing position to sacrifice and move Tim back, as opposed to moving Weston or Tyler or Yunus Musa out of our midfield. Together, this season, Tim and Weston were able to win the Copa Italia and add a trophy to their case to cap off the season. Up next, we have Josh Sargent, who played for Norwich City in the EFL Championship this season. Josh had a very effective season in front of goal, scoring 16 times and assisting 2 more, despite missing 20 matches in the middle of the season due to an ankle injury. Josh only played 2,059 minutes over the course of the year, averaging a goal or an assist every 114 minutes for Norwich. I really hope that he can keep up his good goal-scoring form and continue to be clinical in front of goal so that he can build on his performances this year with Norwich, take that into the summer, and potentially get himself a transfer to another top 5 league. I think that he's past the point of quality of the English Championship, and he needs to make a move to a top 5 league. I think that he would find a lot of success in the Bundesliga. Another striker that the US men's national team had that was lighting up the English Championship was Haji Wright. This 2022 World Cup veteran outplayed expectations this season for me by far. Haji had 16 goals and 7 assists for Coventry this season in the English Championship. Haji was also a vital piece in helping Coventry reach the FA Cup semi-finals, where he played exceptionally well against Manchester United, but it wasn't quite enough to get them over the hump and into the final. Across all competitions, Haji Wright played roughly 3,400 minutes, scoring 19 goals and 8 assists, and primarily from that left wing. While in the past he has been viewed as a number 9 for the US men's national team, I think this season has proven that he can be an additional depth piece either at the 9 or on the left wing. So if we're in a pinch and we need Tim Weah to slide back into that right back position, Christian can easily move over to the right as he did for AC Milan this season, and we feel really good about our depth options on the left wing being Haji Wright and Brendan Aronson. Alright you guys, that's it for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like to see me cover in a future video.